Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to O'Fallon Christian Church. I am Aaron. I'm one of the pastors here. We are very glad you're here joining us in person. Also, if you're watching online, thank you so much for worshiping alongside us. If this is one of your first times here and you have not done this yet, I want you to pull your phone out and text this number. Text hello to that number. It just gives us an opportunity to connect with you, let you know about things going on, and we can also do some prayer things through there. So it's an opportunity for us to do that, so we encourage you to take some time, do that right now. If you get your phone out now, we're not going to be mad at you. We know that's what it's about. We know you would not get your phone out for any other reason during this time. But we're really excited to be here. We're excited to worship our God together. I'm going to invite everyone to stand up right now as our team here leads us into a closer relationship with God. So I hope you're ready to clap.
Arise, my soul, remember this. He took my sin and he buried it. No longer I who live, now Jesus lives in me. For I was dead in sin, but I woke up to see the light. No, I won't boast, but in the cross that saved my soul, all else is lost. The grip of fear has no hold on me. So where, oh death, where is your sting? No longer I who live, now Jesus lives in me. For I was dead in sin, but I woke up to see the light. Yeah. All of this for your glory. All of this for your glory, yes. And all of this for your glory. And all of this for your glory. See the light, yeah. All of this for your glory. the darkness we were waiting, without hope, without light, till from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes to fulfill the law and prophets. To a virgin came the word from a throne of endless glory to a cradle in the dirt. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. Kind of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. To reveal the kingdom coming and to reconcile the lost, to redeem the whole creation. You did not despise the cross, for even in your suffering you saw to the other side, knowing this was our salvation. Jesus, for our sake you died. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. In the morning that you rose, all of heaven held its breath, till that stone was moved for good, for the Lamb had conquered death. And the dead rose from their tombs, and the angels stood in awe, for the souls of all who come to the Father are restored. And the church of Christ was born, and the Spirit lit the flame. Now this gospel truth of all shall not yield, shall not fade. By His blood and in His name, and in His freedom I am free. For the love of Jesus Christ, who has resurrected me. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. Praise forever to the King of Kings.
Yeah, we give God the praise. You go ahead and grab a seat. So I'm up here now to just let you know something, that today's service is gonna be a little bit different, and also to let you know that that's okay. It's okay for things to be a little bit different sometimes, because sometimes we can kind of, come to church and we go through the motions. I don't know if you've ever been there. I've been there before, where you just kind of go and we do the same thing every week, same songs, the same message. We kind of get stuck in a rut. And so it's important sometimes to do something different, to hear a different voice, to experience God in a different way and encounter him in a different fashion. See, because there's a story of this church. It was a country church, very, very small town, and older church. And this younger couple had visited the church, and they were, going through the normal service, and everything was pretty standard, pretty typical Sunday morning traditional service. It then came to the time for the invitation song, which some of you might be familiar with that concept in a church. But after the message, there was a time where they do a song, and people could come up and, rededicate their life to Jesus or do something like that. But when that time came, the whole congregation, without any prompting, just stood up and turned to the right, which I guess for you would be that way. But they turned to the right, and they all sang the hymn while singing, pointing at this wall. And it seemed a little bit strange. And so the couple after service, like, hey, everything was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. But, why do we stand up and sing at the wall? That was a little bit weird. And, they asked the person, you know what? I don't really know why we do it. It's just the way we've always done things. I don't know if you've ever been there before, but it's just the way we've always done things. So they went to find somebody else, like, hey, why do we get up and sing at the wall? And they said, I don't know either. There's a lot of people that were actually puzzled and couldn't remember why they do this. Finally, they were like, hey, let's go to the guy. You guys know who that is. Like, that guy in your church has been there from the beginning, that knows everything. He knows the secret passages around the building. Like, let's go to him and see if he knows why we do that. So they finally find him, and they ask him, why do we get up and sing at the white wall over there? And he was thinking about it. He said, you know what? I remember years and years ago, we had the words to that hymn painted on the wall. And so we would get up and turn, and it was our lyrics while we were singing. But then over the years, we had some renovations done, and we painted over it. But we still get up and we sing at the blank wall. We don't know why. It's just what we've always done. Well, here at O'Fallon, we don't want to be like that, right? We don't want to just come and be singing to a wall. Why we don't know why we're doing that. So today we're gonna watch a short clip from the TV show The Chosen, and that's just it's what I love about that show. If you haven't seen it yet, is it brings the Bible to life in a way I have not experienced before. It reminds you that these are real people. And it tells their stories in a unique way. And today, one of the scenes we're going to watch is actually Jesus having a conversation with one of his apostles, with Matthew, as they are planning out the Sermon on the Mount, which is so cool thinking about that. Like, we just get to Matthew 5 and Jesus is preaching, but there's a lot of work leading up to that, and we get to kind of see what that might have looked like. And then after that, we're going to hear some different voices of different people that have decided that they're willing to come up here and share a story and that God is doing in their life, how they are salt and light. And so just hope that throughout this morning, you feel blessed, and you feel blessed from their stories, from the story, from The Chosen, and that ultimately that you feel closer to God through today.
Matthew, look. Mary finished the notices. They're leaving to spread the word.
I hope they can find a way to work together.
What do you mean?
They can't seem to agree on a single thing lately. Myself included sometimes.
Oh, I've noticed. In some ways, it's to be expected.
But not desired, surely.
No. But it's what's bound to happen when you start something that's open to all, truly, all people. Zealots, even tax collectors. People who have been through tough times. People both hesitant and skeptical, as well as bold and confident. People hungry to learn, as well as those learned and knowledgeable. Let's get back to work. How many sections are we up to?
19.
Here's a little incomplete, huh?
There is something about 20 that is more symmetrical. You could always shorten it to 18.
Brevity is usually preferred. Which section stands out to you the most?
Do not be anxious about your life, of course.
Are there any sections that concern you? Give me your honest opinion. I know I don't have to say that, but
The whole truth.
you know I won't be offended.
It's, well, very striking. But if I do the math in terms of good news and bad, it seems like there's not a lot of good news. Anyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery. Doesn't that make everyone an adulterer? If your right eye causes you to sin, gouge it out. Wouldn't that lead to an entire population of people walking around with only one eye? Oh, and this one. If anyone were to sue you and take your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. Trees that bear bad fruit being cut down and thrown into the fire. The gate is narrow and hard that leads to life. Depart from me, I never knew you. Do you realize how heavily laden your sermon is with these kinds of ominous pronouncements? I haven't even named half of them.
It's a manifesto, Matthew. I'm not here to be sentimental and soothing. I'm here to start a revolution.
Well, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. That isn't exactly...
I said revolution, not revolt. I'm talking about a radical shift. Did you think I was just going to come here and say, hey, everyone, just keep doing what you've been doing for the last 1,000 years since it's been going so great?
Also, there's the beginning and the end.
What about the beginning?
My concern about the beginning is more logistical. Right now, your opening line is, you are the salt of the earth. I'm worried, particularly if it is windy, or if the crowd is larger than we expect, that people near the back will hear, salt the earth, and it will immediately call to mind a negative connotation.
The Punic Wars?
Yes. When Rome destroyed Carthage, they sowed the city with salt to make it barren, and to curse anyone who would rebuild upon it.
I share your concern about the opening line, but for different reasons. I think the sermon needs some sort of introduction, an invitation into what, as you have rightly pointed out, will be a complex and at times challenging set of teachings.
What does you are the salt of the earth even mean? I'm not good at metaphor.
Salt preserves meat from corruption. It slows its decay. I want my followers to be a people who hold back the evil of the world. Salt also enhances the flavor of things. I want my followers to renew the world and be part of its redemption. Salt can also be mixed with honey and rubbed on the skin for maladies. I want my people to participate in the healing of the world, not its destruction.
Then why not just say that?
Come on, Matthew. Allow me a little poetry, huh? Not everyone is like you. Some people like a little flavor. Read the songs of David or Solomon. I'm not going nearly as far with metaphor as Solomon.
I'm reading him next.
Well, good luck. He's probably... Yeah. I told you. These things will make sense to some, but not to others. I don't want passive followers. Those who are truly committed will peer deeply into it, looking for truth. But I do agree with you. We shouldn't begin with salt. You make a valid point. Good work.
You could flip it with the next image. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden.
I could.
Or, whatever you wish that others would do to you, do also to them. That one's inviting. Master, may I ask why you keep coming down to look at the camp? They've all gone, haven't they?
They have. I'm going to need time.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lorraine Linson, and I am a college student. I'm currently attending Missouri Baptist University, which, incidentally enough, fits into the little reflection I'm giving today. You see, as I said, I attend Missouri Baptist University. I also live there full-time, so during the weeks, that means that usually I'm going to be eating food from the school cafeteria. Now, unfortunately, the food from the school cafeteria is not exactly great. In fact, I would go so far to say it is pretty bad. There's a lot of reasons why the food is pretty bad, but we'd probably be here for the rest of the sermon if we were to get into that. But the main one that applies to today is that oftentimes the food at Mobap is pretty bland. My favorite example is we have mashed potatoes fairly often, and usually mashed potatoes are pretty much just that, potatoes that have been mashed. No salt, no butter, nothing in it to flavor it. And so, if we want to make the food somewhat edible, try and make the most of those expensive meal plans that we paid for, the main thing we have to do is add flavoring. And often the main kind of flavoring that we turn to in these times is salt. A little bit of salt on the mashed potatoes, or the rice, or the french fries, or the chicken, or pretty much any kind of food we have there can usually take it from being, as I said, inedible to something that, is passable for food. Something that might not be my favorite meal, but is something that I can, enjoy for what I have. It gets me through the day. And that means that basically the salt is taking the food and it's making it better, making it good, or good might be a strong word for the food we have there, but at least not nearly as bad as it could be. And looking back on what Jesus was saying, the video clip we just watched, I think that is true for Christians as well. We can do little things to make things good, to make them better, to take something that might not be so great and find a little way to make it better than it already was. Even if that is just a small act of service, thinking, what would Jesus have me do in this situation, and doing it, any of those things. So, as we hear from the rest of the people today, I would like you to just bear this in mind. Think, how can I make things better, make things good as a Christian today?
Good morning. I'm Merlene.
And I'm Don. We're the Jacksons, the old ones.
We're so happy to be here at OCC on mission to love God, love people, and serve the people of St. Charles County and beyond. Glad you're here with us today.
And what we're talking about is the verse found in Matthew 5, it's verse 14. You are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden.
Jesus was talking to people who were familiar with Jerusalem, a city on a hill, where you could see the lamp lights at night for miles and miles. If we here today look at towards the city at night, the same with us. You can't hide the lights from a city at nighttime. Jesus is telling us that we're the light of the world, so we know what that means. He says you can't hide it, and it's visible, and it's public, and people can't help but notice.
And what does this mean to me, to us, to you all in our daily lives? Well, it's kind of like the little song we teach our children, This Little Light of Mine.
We're going to sing it, and I pitched it low in the first service, so I hope I can hit the note this time. We're only going to sing the first verse. You may know a verse about don't let Satan blow it out, or don't hide it under a bushel. And you may even hear that later this morning, too. Maybe. All right, you ready? You sing with us. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Oh, yeah. So, Oh.
How do we shine our light publicly where it's not hidden? Well, maybe it's raking leaves for a neighbor, and leaves are sure coming down this time of year. Maybe it's taking a meal to help out when there's a new baby, like with the Hammonds, or when somebody's sick, or when there's been a loss of a loved one. Maybe it's just listening to a coworker or a friend when they just need a shoulder, somebody to lean on for a little bit.
Or it could mean serving muffins just because on Monday, like the other Jacksons. Maybe it's inviting someone for a meal or just coffee to catch up.
Or helping with a disaster like we had this summer when it flooded. Maybe you helped clean up or did somebody's laundry because they lost their washing machine, or took meals to their family. Or maybe you could help to volunteer to take kids in for the night, not just grandkids, but other kids, to give parents a night off. Maybe, or maybe you could give a caregiver a break, somebody who does that 24/7, maybe sitting with a loved one.
Or it could mean inviting someone to a blues game. Yeah. Or maybe it's inviting someone for a meal, and we already talked about that. Maybe it's just a smile to someone you meet when you're out.
Being light means showing you care. It also means sharing the reason that you care. They might ask you, why are you being so nice to me? Why are you so kind? And that's your opportunity to share Jesus with them in simple words. It doesn't have to be a Bible study, and you don't have to quote a lot of scripture. Just share your heart about why you want to show them love.
Jesus loves me. He loves all of us. He is the light in the darkness of this world, and I just want to share that. As he shared his light when he was on this earth, we need to do the same.
Yeah, so go be light this week.
Good morning, family. Man, I feel like I'm talking loud. Because they told me if I didn't put the mic to my mouth, I was going to be in trouble. You know, this morning as we've walked through the verses this morning, they gave me Matthew 5:15, and it reads as this: "No one lights a lamp then puts it under a bushel. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where it's given light to everyone in the house." You know, if we really sit back and really think about what that really means, you know, we as Christians, you know, we walk a certain way, we talk a certain way. You know, honestly, if someone didn't know who we were by the way we present ourselves, they know that we're a child of God. You know, but it's sometimes that we have a tendency to walk into places and we want to dumb down what we believe. We want to hide the fact that we are children of God. In fact, we want to put on that costume and kind of muffle down that God is the head of our life, because we don't want people to look at us like we're weird or goofy or offbeat or think of us in a different light. But you know, it's what it really comes down to is that we've got to let our light shine no matter where we are, where we go, who we with, at all times, in all circumstances, because that brings glory to the Father that we love. You know, as they sing that song, My Little Light of Mine, you know, you think about the kids upstairs, and you think about Butch and how he teaches these kids, and how he shares verses with them, and how he gets them to remember these verses. And as you guys just sang that first verse of This Little Light of Mine, how many people did that take back to your childhood? Y'all got to talk to me. Y'all ain't getting off that easy. How many people did that take back to their childhood? So when you think about it, you think about that second verse in that song. And it goes like, I'm going to let it shine all the time. I'm going to let it shine. Hide it under a bushel. I'm going to let it shine. You know, and that's what it's about. Today, we can't hide our glorification for God and how we wear it and how we walk through this world, because you know what? This world is broken. It's lost, and it's looking for something new. And I assure you, there's somebody you're going to walk past today, the closest thing that they're going to see to God is you. So what are we going to do today when we leave this place? So how are we going to sing it? I'm gonna let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Make sure you let it shine today. God bless. Love y'all.
Good morning, y'all. So when Charity texted me and said, hey, I want you to come in on Sunday and speak, I text back and said, I am not qualified to stand on that stage. And she said, I think the disciples said the same thing. They're not qualified. And good thing that God takes unqualified people and makes them on God's mission. I said, touche. So here I stand to talk about Matthew 5:16. So it says, in the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify Father in heaven. So she sent that to me after sweating it out for a few hours. I read it, and I said, okay, I know this one. I can do it. I thought about it for a while. I'm going to put a new twist on this for you guys. And after I tell you a little bit about it, we're going to come back and I'll bring it home, okay? So those of you that don't know me, I am a store manager for Walmart. And this verse kind of lives at home in my family, in my work life, for my customers, my associates. And in my business life, I preach this daily to my associates. And we talk about doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do, okay? We say in orientation, in our huddles, in our meetings, do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, and you'll never have to worry about the business size of the business because the business will take care of itself. So again, do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, and you'll never have to worry about the business. So here's where we'll loop around. If we are God's followers, if we are God's disciples, we are called to make a difference. Called to let them see your good deeds. Called to glorify your Father in heaven. The only glimpse some people may see of that is from you and I. To me, that's a little scary because I know I'm not perfect. I tell the leaders in my building to daily go home and think about what are your associates, what are your customers, what are they talking about around their dinner table? What are they saying about you? Did you make an impact in their life? When you go home today, think about that. I tell my kids, love everyone. No matter who they are, no matter what they believe, who they love, or what sins they've committed, because we're all sinners. My family, we will let our light shine. And hopefully, we will glorify the Father. And somebody will see my family and say, I want that. How do I get that? Thank you.
You stand and sing with us. You came to the world you created, trading your Your grace holds me now. Your grace holds me now.
Let's give God the glory for that, right? That we are praising a God of grace. Go ahead and grab a seat as we come to the time of our communion. And again, we don't want this communion to be something that we just look at a white wall for, right? We want it to be something that is meaningful, that we do for a reason. And so if you haven't grabbed your elements, they're in the back of the room. We got some bread and juice cups back there. If you're watching online, now's a great time to grab those elements you're going to use to represent the body and the blood of Christ. You see, today is it's always easy to talk about communion, but it's notoriously easy for a morning like this morning, where we've been living out what communion is all about here up on stage here at OCC. See, because the Latin root for the word communion is fellowship, mutual participation, or sharing. That's what we've been doing this morning. We've had people that were willing to come up and share their story, share what God is doing in their life. Because unfortunately, when it comes to communion, there's many times where we only focus on the internal part of communion. And it's important for us to do that. It's important for us, the scriptures tell us to examine our hearts, right? We need to be doing those things, but we miss the fellowship aspect of communion, the community part of communion. And so in the same way that we've had our people sharing today, whenever we take communion, I would encourage you to share with your neighbor, right? Sit with them. It's okay to talk during communion. It's okay to be sharing what God is doing in your life as we are communing together. I'm reminded of this from the words of Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, when he says, when we bless the cup at the Lord's table, aren't we sharing in the blood of Christ? And when we break the bread, aren't we sharing in the body of Christ? And though we are many, we all eat from one loaf of bread, showing that we are one body. When we take communion, it is an opportunity for us to show unity amongst not just this church, but Christians all over the world. We are communing with them and showing that we are a united front, being salt in a world that needs saltiness, even when those mashed potatoes, right, when they don't have any salt. Or we are being a light that we will not hide, that we will rake those leaves for our neighbors. We will bring them a meal. We will sing those songs and share our faith, and we will do good for people. We will do the right thing because that's the right thing to do, because that's what God has called us to do. So during this time, I would encourage you very much to share with your neighbor, share with someone what God is doing in your life. Let's pray over this communion time. God, I thank you for your sacrifice. I thank you for what Jesus did for me, for all of us. And I pray that we always remember that. We're so grateful that you put something in place for us to never forget. Help us remember the purpose of that and to not forget what you've done for us. And that ultimately we share it with others. It's in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
I stand high and surrender. I need you now. Hold my heart now and forever. My soul cries out, yes. Here I stand high and surrender. I need you now. I need you now. Hold my heart now and forever. My soul cries out, yes. Here I stand high and surrender. I need you now. Hold my heart now and forever. My soul cries out, yes. Here I stand high and surrender. I need you now. Hold my heart now and forever. My soul cries out. 'Cause once I was broken, you loved my whole heart through. Sin has no hold on me, 'cause your grace holds me now. Healed and forgiven. Look where my chains are now. Death has no hold on me, 'cause your grace holds that ground. And your grace holds me now. Your grace holds me now. Your grace holds me now. Grace holds me now. Healed and forgiven. Look where my chains are now. Death has no hold on me, 'cause your grace holds that ground. And your grace holds me now. Your grace holds me now.
My prayer is that God spoke to you through someone today, maybe through a voice you hadn't heard before, maybe a conversation will happen, maybe you had a conversation with someone now. I pray it doesn't end now, that it's an opportunity for God put that onto your heart so it keeps going. And so if you have any questions, about this church or anything, there is a right outside here to the right. We have the 5 minutes after. I'll be back there if you want to have any questions or want to make a decision about it or anything. That is what we are there for. One last thing to remind you before we head out this morning is we are stuffing those swag bags this Wednesday night. Our teenagers at our youth group are going to be stuffing swag bags. So hopefully you brought candy in. I'll tell you now, we could still use more. And if you happen to show up Wednesday night with candy, I'm not going to be mad at you. I promise. I won't. But we're going to be stuffing those so we have an opportunity to bless our community. If that's what we're about, that's right. We bless our community. Awesome. Where we can bless them and we can show the love of God to our neighbors and to St. Charles County and beyond. So have a wonderful, blessed week, and we'll see you next time.